Um, okay, hi everybody. Welcome to another episode of Compassionate Citizens. This podcast is a part of the World of Ability Podcast Network that was started by a group of mutual with Kurt and a few other mutual friends of ours within the last couple of years here, or last year, I should say. And it was all inspired through the work of Narland Dimmitt of Chicago, with his work with the Compassionate Citizens Project down there. And Anya would like to talk about the role of compassion and about being compassionate to others and anything related to compassion. And I am Emily. I'm one of the co-hosts of the show, along with Kurt Roskoff and Jennifer Ada Whitaker, who's usually has been here. It's not yet at the moment, but hopefully she'll be joining us shortly here. So to pass it over to you, Kurt, do you have any introducing thoughts about? Oh, before you say anything, Kurt, I'd like to give a special thanks and recognition to Marcus Hart of Transforming Media, Jay Stoyan of the Disability Channel, and Zach Clayton of the PAC Channel, in allowing us to have this show run on their platforms. And so, back over to you, Kurt. I just wanted to add that in there quick. So what do you have to say about the show and compassion and anything like that?
Well, compassion is what brings together what some people are calling like a global healing or healing on an individual level, but also look at it macroscopically to look at what's going on across 8 billion people on Earth, and to look at the issue of basics, food, shelter, clothing. So they talk about some of these elements as insecurity, food insecurity, home insecurity, and then, being insecure in terms of health-wise, in terms of having the appropriate desire, especially of concern during winter times and very cold climate areas. And during that time, in terms of hypothermia and stuff like that. So compassion is that element that really, is the test. It's the litmus test of, is anything going to change? Or are we going to continue to be inhumane? So the idea is that when we're in our faith spaces, and some faith spaces might be saying, consider tithing, 10% of income, 10% of your resources, tithe it out there to charity and stuff like that, or however this is in your life, or with communities and organizations and so forth that you participate in. And then with whatever we're doing to create that very, noble, yet very approachable and very non-judgmental, aspect. Because it is great to advocate and to, suggest this type of stuff, but I don't think any of us mean to make that insulting or build up an insecurity for a person over what they may not be doing, this way. And so I think the idea that we can consider is what people do across a lifetime, because when we get to a place where we are giving and we are compassionate, or tithing we normally hear about in terms of finances and money and the monetary, paying it forward and stuff like that. But I always also ask people to consider tithing of time. And 7 years ago, I was introduced to a wonderful global community of time banking. And it's something that I think I heard about. I think it may have come across, my purview and whatever, but I just never dove into it. And it was coming into disability advocacy and helping the ADA networks. This is the Americans with Disabilities Act networks, with ADA celebrations, create one of their celebration events. And this one that I worked on, I ended up calling Ability Fest. And at Ability Fest was the local time bank. And that's where I learned about that. So there's a whole community out there that helps people in facilitation of this part of life, and making it work and being productive, co-producing, being co-productive together. And so yeah, definitely, as we do all this stuff and participate in community, being compassionate is key. We hear about in faith spaces that sometimes you hear about church committees or church councils where somebody is domineering and somebody is very stubborn, maybe, or someone is very, aggressive, maybe even at church. And it just seems a little misplaced, for anywhere, first of all, but then especially the irony of stuff like that happening at a church. It's counterintuitive. So we find it important to really get this buzzword out and around. And the reality is this is inspired politically, so to speak. It comes from faith spaces trying to figure out what to do with the United States of America, and the feeling that has been in the last decade, the last recent years, going back 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and so forth, about feeling politics being very divisive. And, and across time, definitely feeling a little bit of that, but it seems like it really got ripe there 4 or 5 years ago. And, so it really became something to really consider. What do we do as a faith community to really not make it that our church is entering into politics, but yet being a congregation of faith, people of faith, and then wanting better for our politics? What do we do? And that's where the Compassionate Citizens Project was born, that people could just unite together to really, step aside maybe a little bit from the hat of church business and say, okay, now let's take our shared interests on, having a more, what we'd end up saying, compassionate political process, and to really try to respect people's different opinions, even though we maybe in theory don't respect it, or an opinion don't respect it in terms of the idea that they are sharing and representing, but not to let that domineer and really carry that over to what you're doing to the other person, or what you're doing in judging the other person and really lowering what that person is hoping to do with their right to have that political standpoint. So this area of compassion really builds out that when we think of in the USA, where you have the Democrats and you have the Republicans, and then you have other, independents, and you have Green Party, and you have other minor parties out there, to really open up that no matter where people are aligning, or maybe they don't associate with the political party at all, I guess that would, kind of get them over to that independent space, but maybe they don't even want to declare themselves an independent, that they're just themselves, that, yeah, they are independent, but they don't want to be under that moniker of an independent, type of things. So you've got all this stuff that, with hundreds of millions of people across the planet, well, across the, it's 8 billion across the planet, but across the USA, hundreds of millions, that it's going to take so many different forms. And we need to figure out how we can create these healthy conversations, because as citizens, we have a vote through the democratic process. We have representative processes that we're able to speak into, and we're able to have documentation of our standpoint, and we're able to go through the bureaucracy of it, so to speak, with those that represent us, and hope and trust that they have the integrity to actually represent us, rather than say, okay, they did the process of bringing it in, but then they just push it aside and do it whatever they really want to do. So to really dive in and to really make this, as optimal as possible, the Compassionate Citizens Project presents that, having these conversations in compassion might help this divide, help bridge the gap between the parties and between the conservatives and the liberals and the moderates, and, all these different forms it can take, and to really have a healthier process and experience in our political space, and then to look at what it means in the end, because there's a lot of discussion about the role that government may not be good to have in this, and then some may say that we have found the right place for government to play the role, and that is politics. That is, so it's not really what the topic suggests, like say global warming or being more ecologically friendly and stuff like that. When that's posed, that all sounds good, and I don't think anybody minds that is a priority and being worked on. But I think people feel infringed upon. There are many people out there that feel infringed upon, that if their resources or what their life has aggregated and culminated together, that they are forced into that through taxes, that this stuff is happening, and that they're feeding into it when they maybe feel that that's not the government's role. Things like that. Or people saying that as a country, we do need to take responsibility, and it does need to be a collective effort because it affects everybody. So yeah, the tax dollar is where we need to draw it from. So this is the ongoing conversation with that. And I brought up many times in disability advocacy, the Disability Integration Act, and that we are challenged in the United States of America to take that much needed legislation. I don't think that anybody, and I hope nobody in Congress, really disagrees with the need for that legislation. I know my senator, Ron Johnson, he takes the standpoint that if, America or people around the world, now this is more, not really the Disability Integration Act, this is more with the United Nations conference or convention for people with disabilities, that basically has a treaty element where other nations are ratifying this, but the United States of America does not ratify this convention for people with disabilities. And so Ron Johnson's stance is that if other countries, need to participate with what the USA is doing, just look at the Americans with Disabilities Act. So I just kind of extract from that to say I don't like that response for two reasons. One, it's a very poor reason not to participate in getting a convention or making an appeal to the United Nations that can make it workable for the US, I mean, we have our future on into the future. And to say that congressional leaders like Ron Johnson are not taking an element of compassion in their role and their privilege to be our senator, and to say, let me see what I can do, to take that political stance the way he does, I don't find that compassion. I find that to be a cop-out. I find that to be derelict of duty, Ron Johnson. You know, anybody can share this with Ron Johnson. I'm happy to have the staff at Ron Johnson's office call me in, or any legal staff, any attorney. You know, it doesn't really matter to me, because there's things that are right and there's things that are wrong. And no matter where you are in sorting out right and wrong, there is a way to be compassionate about it. And so I can take a compassionate look at Ron Johnson's duty, and he has to pick his battles and focus on stuff to get stuff done. The stuff that he does for our country is great, and he gets it done because he's not as much focused on the Disability Integration Act. And that's a little bit of how the business works in Washington, D.C., and in practically getting something done as a senator or as a congressperson. So it does play both ways, and I have to check in to say, am I practicing what I preach, you know, so to speak. You know, so yeah, this compassionate citizen element I also like, because in social work, social services with a social mission, and trying to fill these gaps in communities in the marketplace, government work does provide this element of collective impact. Or if you go to Wikipedia or whatever, it's a format that is available to the world to take a look at collective impact, and to look at how different elements of the marketplace or communities can work together, say like business community and government, that type of thing. And some people see things in there that they call private-public partnerships. See, this kind of stuff is a way that we can go ahead and look at our compassionate opportunities to celebrate the work that other people are doing, and to say, how can we piece what they're going to do without us into that? There's pieces of this, there's fractals of that are nice little elements to just have handy as a resource in the work we do. And then now there's a cross-referencing going on, and you allow the population to better participate into where, with what they seek, that it's more in business. They talk a lot, or I suppose a lot in life, but I know for sure I hear it a lot in business, right people at the right place at the right time. And that's what these collaborations allow to happen, is to help people get with the right people at the right place, like which agency, which church, which which business, which volunteer group, which school, depending where they should be, to help navigate all that stuff. And in disability services, health and human services, there's this role that professionals can play as a navigator. So this element has been recognized and is at play presently. So it's not like it doesn't exist and it needs to exist. I think it just happens in its little pockets, and certain people, obviously the people who are being served, are aware of it. But then people who are not drawn into that through a definite situation where they definitely made that connection, there's not that broader awareness so that these things can be fashioned together, that it all fits together. And that's the way I see the citizenship, is to say it would be nice as a citizen that with our time and talents and resources, we can have like in social work, they call it a wraparound. When somebody is of need of a health and human service, a disability service or whatever, mental health services, and that somebody is just given a wraparound, which means that what people tend to experience in these journeys, that they can be guided to, kind of in sales with products or services. Salespeople could be trained to say something like, I know how you feel. I felt this way before, and this is what we found. And then to present your thing of features and benefits, for people to consider taking on themselves the way the evidence shows that it can work. And then you can get into the stuff where it can become like investing, where it's like past performance does not necessarily guarantee future results and stuff like this. But at least there's an understanding of possibility and what's available and what people can consider. And so when you're dealing with people's real life experiences, not knowing where they are in the mental health side of life, that compassionate element, again, is a reminder to say, you don't know what people are going through in their life, and to do stuff that is maybe away from the delivery of compassion might be exacerbating a circumstance there that is not part of the conversation you're in, but they go home and they deal with it in a whole other magnified way that has nothing to do with anything you were aware of, but it may be a repercussion of your actions if we're not compassionate. But then again, as a citizen, if we're a citizen that is in a disposition to help, and we want to be able to give back and so forth, to be able to volunteer, it'd be nice to have a nice navigation element where we can say, okay, what are churches doing? Are churches doing a piece of this that I would go to this faith space or whatever it may be? Or do I need to look at what Lions, Kiwanis, Rotary Optimist Club, or, pick a favorite nonprofit to align with to do this stuff? And then we're learning about cooperatives. So cooperatives are another format that people can plug into. And I didn't really take much attention to it until about 7 years ago. And so that's an opportunity. Or is it the business sector? Is it with what business people are looking for, that we can do something through the guise of what they do in outreach and publicity, PR, and under business terms to do that? Or go to a chamber of commerce, maybe be a presenter at a chamber group, or maybe check in with government agency work and with what these councils and committees are doing, maybe to be a presenter for 5-10 minutes or whatever they maybe do there as an educational segment to help people that are members of that board or committee with what they're addressing. Maybe there's an expertise you have that could help them do what they're commissioned to do under that role in agency work. And to me, that's what I advocate. And then all the fun stuff. I was in the golf course business for 13 years, and I saw how at our golf course that there was so much community work and business work being done at our golf course that it's through the game of golf. So that same type of thing can happen. I also like water skiing. I'm a lifelong water skier, and so people can gather at water ski shows and have that as a gathering place that then the people can get together and share their common interests, which may be a business objective, or business derivation, or maybe something else. A faith community could come out, get together as a faith community, maybe say a prayer, before the show and whatever. It could be at a multitude of things. I had somebody who said that they didn't like water skiing. I'm like, well, what do you like? And his response was chess. And I'm like, well, you could bring your chess board out and we could have somebody sit with you and play chess while we're water skiing. You can play chess with somebody. I'm sure we'll have somebody in our reach and community that would be interested to do that with you. And these are the things that create all these connections, community connections, business connections, whatever it may be. And just helps things, help people find that goodness of fit for what their interests are and where they want to apply their energies and to find all that. So that's why we got involved in media here, to get all of this stuff out there, and then people can hear it and take it in as edutainment, hopefully as a talk show. It's a little bit entertaining, and hopefully as a talk show, you're getting some value out of it, that you're getting some insights to something that with whatever else you're doing in life or have done in life, never heard it before. Maybe it's a good reminder on some things. So with that, Emily, what's next right here at your Compassionate Citizens podcast?
So as you were talking, I was thinking that there is or could be a correlation between the Compassionate Citizen podcast and or the Narlands project and the mutual aid network. What are your thoughts on that, Kurt? Okay, I guess until then. So at the World Livability Podcast Network, we have several shows that we are doing. The next one that we are doing after this one is Ability MK Now with River West Radio. Oh, Kurt, I was trying to talk about this. I don't know if you heard my question before I started talking about the podcast, but it was about the connection between the Mutual Aid Network and the Compassionate Citizen podcast / Narlands project, and what your thoughts were on that. If there could be some kind of collaboration or anything like that.
Yeah, I think what you're getting to, Emily, between today's comment and we had last night was Zach Clayton with Community Pay It Forward. I think you are getting to this space where you're seeing how all of our work fits together, because this is a need that the marketplace has to get, and I was saying this on Zita's show, that we need to get the for-profit community thinking in terms of affinity and cause marketing, where the affinity is like a cause, like say disability advocacy or things that serve people with disabilities. And then that's the cause. The cause is in the disability community. And then the affinity would be like water skiing, actually, or like I said, chess or something like that. So it's kind of like what you're applying the cause to, so that gets us towards nonprofit work. But the affinity and cause marketing aspect is that if a business can get in the position to be in that community of people, to be in that network of people that's coming from the nonprofit work, but yet their business is becoming known as being an ally, or trying to think what Zach calls it. It's partners, like community partners, I believe.
Something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I was adding in with the Happy Co-op and the Mutual Aid Network that it's about co-op work. So yeah, definitely with Compassionate Citizens. Again, the role of the Compassionate Citizens Project is thinking in terms of where people are in the faith community and how their faith journey drives them to this virtue of compassion, and then kind of how that looks, on the political side. So it's the two things that people say you tend not to talk about in social circles is religion or politics. And not to say that that's the purpose here when you're just trying to build out Compassionate Citizens. It's just to create these discussions about needs in the marketplace. Like I was saying about the basics: food, shelter, clothing, unemployment, underemployment, marginalization, social justice issues, stuff like this. These things where compassion is a great place, where it's a great place to have that applied. That's the point. So yeah, Compassionate Citizens Project with Mutual Aid Network definitely could come together, but then to tie it into what we talked about with Zach and Zeta, with Zeta's Healthy Beginnings, Zach's business model, where the consumer buying habits are tied into with those transactions, that nonprofits have a natural fundraising mechanism. It could all come together.
Yeah, it was good maybe talk about more about that offline, but I just kind of had that realization again, or thought about it, so I just thought I'd ask you what your thoughts were on it. But yeah, I was just kind of was reminded of it when you were talking before. So but thank you for your thoughts. So as I was saying before that conversation, the World of Ability Podcast Network was started a couple years ago by Kurt and Marcus Hart of Transform You Media, as well as one of two of our anchor podcasts called The World of Ability. Our other, World of Ability, which is on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock Central. And the other anchor show, or sort of anchor show of the World of Ability, is the World of Ability Podcast Network, is the show we are going to be having in a few hours here, at 7:30 p.m. Central or 8:30 p.m. Eastern, called Ability MKE Now, which was started like 6 or 7 years ago. And then, so those two shows are every Wednesday for the World MKE Now and every Saturday for the World of Ability. And we have been also helping several other people with starting their own shows, and which include Zeta and the World of Women on Tuesday evenings at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central. And it looks like we have Jennifer joining us at the moment. Jen, are you able to hear me or say anything at the moment? Oh, while we are getting that figured out, so we have Zeta's World of Women, which is all about women and children, and I have everything connected with women and children. We also have the world of pets at Mondays at 9 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, or 8 o'clock p.m. Central. And then we also have Blue Collar Crypto, and Sundays at 5 Eastern or 4 p.m. Central. And then we have our Jaws Coffee Chat with a few shows part of that. Jaws Diet, Jaws Mental Health, and Jaws Christ Talk, which Jaws able to come on here. But I will let her kind of explain that, 'cause that's her shows. And so if anybody,
Emily, will you call me so I can join the discussion?
okay, and so I'll figure out here. So if anybody is interested in either joining as a guest or helping out with any of the shows in any other capacity, or even if you are looking to maybe start your own show, or show, or even if it's just a one-time, one done thing, we would be able to help you with that as well. Just connect with us and we can go from there. Also, we are also a part of the Happy Neighborhood Project, which is a business networking group that was started by Edwin Edeberry, and with his work in about happiness.
Good afternoon, Emily.
Good afternoon. Now we have
What's today's discussion about? Are you calling me again? Emily, are you calling me again? What's our discussion about today, Emily?
Yeah, and you're connected with the show.
Exactly. So now that I'm joining in late,
Why can I hear you? There we go. Okay. Something's going goofy, but so would you like to explain a little bit about Jaws Coffee Chat?
sure. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, for watching us now live or at a later date where you find World of Ability streaming on your favorite app, podcast app, YouTube, or social media. As Emily asked me, first I'd like to state I'm the co-host, Jennifer A. Whitaker, who is also an author, and I also have what's called Jaws Coffee Chat podcast that presently has 3 shows. We are always looking for for guest speakers, people to listen, share, and repost our podcasts where they find them. And if you are even on the job market or you have a business and you're looking for more clientele, we're also, for those reasons, another great podcast in addition to Compassionate Citizen to tune into, listen, or watch, depending upon how you find it. Listening as podcast or viewing it as a video on YouTube. Because we present on our podcast both information related to my writing, new books, new things going on with Jen's Books and More, which is my business, where you can find my books, podcasts, and services, professional services I provide. And we have a lot of other stuff going on that you can find on my website. But however, Jaws Coffee Chat is where we present whatever's the new information, in addition to having discussions about Christ, one called Jaws Christ Talk, or about mental health related stuff, one called Jaws Mental Health Awareness, or about healthy foods to eat when you have the same 4 allergens I have, which are gluten, soy, milk, and egg. So these are options free of those 4 allergens that we present on what's called Jaws Diet. And all 3 of those are presently our 3 shows on Jaws Coffee Chat. However, we are always looking for other businesses, other business owners, decision makers, whoever that want to partner so we can make a show or series about your cause for your nonprofit or something that makes you unique in the line of what your business provides, if it's a for-profit, and why it's good for the community, why people would want to buy from you, or even listen to what you have to say, and so forth. We're always looking for guest speakers to join on the podcast we already have as well. So if any of these things are reasons or things you'd want to hear, whether it's job opportunities or it's partnership or it's being a co-host or co-producer of our podcast, among other jobs we have, we just got a lot of news and a lot of stuff to let you know on every podcast that we air. The team gets together to air on YouTube every Monday. Jaws Diet is aired 9 o'clock Central, 9 a.m. On YouTube live every Monday, and Jaws Mental Health Awareness is aired at, is it 2:30, Emily?
The mental health awareness one is at 2:30 Central.
Yes. Okay. So Jaws Mental Health Awareness airs at 2:30 Central every Monday, and Jaws Christ Talk airs every Monday at, I think it's 4:15, right?
Yep, Chris Talk is at 4:15 p.m. Central.
Okay, there you go. So that's a little spill of what Jaws Coffee Chat's all about and what we do and who we are. Back to you, Emily.
Would you like to say anything about any of your books or anything else that you'd like to that you do?
Well, I could say about my audiobooks. So this one book that's been out for a few years, like since 2016 or 2017, maybe 2018, is called Dealing with Autism that I speak about often. Well, right now I have 3 or 4 audiobooks, and autism is the one that has the most popularity as an audiobook. And it's actively selling to be heard and listened to as an audiobook every month, with multiple people purchasing it on Audible or other outlets like that, or Nook and other places where you can get audiobooks. It's regularly being sold and purchased and it's the top seller among my audiobooks that actually sells copies every single month since we first launched that one as an audiobook. So that's the big hit among audiobooks. Even though the big hit that we sold the most copies of in November of 2022 was Lobectomy, How It Saved My Life, Volume 1. That's about how is Volume 1 of a series called Lobectomy, about how I overcame epilepsy from being one of the worst 30 cases in the country in 2019. At least worst 30 cases of epilepsy. And so it's depending upon which type of book, whether it's print or audiobook, that's the news about what's the big hits. And right now, my vocal artist is working on making Emotional Roller Coaster Young Adulthood into an audiobook. And I'm working on typing up final draft to be edited of Lobectomy. One Step Forward. No, wait. Which one is it? Anyways, it's Lobectomy Volume 2. I forget the title of that specific volume of the Volume 2 specifically, but it's Volume 2 of the Lobectomy series that I'm right now working on typing up and getting finalized with editing and so forth. And that one will be our audiobook number 6. So right now, the soon-to-come audiobook is Lobectomy Volume 1. And then after that, what will be the second audiobook of 2023 will be Emotional Roller Coaster Young Adulthood. That's a collection of poetry I wrote as a teenager and was my bestseller of all time among all my 5 books that are out. And after that book is out as audiobook number 2, we will be releasing the print book for Lobectomy Volume 2. And then later, Lobectomy Volume 2 will be our third audiobook for 2023. We have the goal of getting 2 books out in print this year and getting 4 audiobooks out in 2023. We were able to achieve getting 2 books released in paper in 2022, and we were able to get 3 audiobooks out in 2022. So we're taking that a notch forward to try to get more content out this year, just one more of each in 2023 than we did in 2022. And this is going to be our system, so I'm constantly working on anywhere from 10 to 12 books at a time so I can be constantly producing more books and stuff on the market, while in the midst of also providing professional services to other people, like a museum I'm working with that's paying me to write about local big figures of the small town of Brookshire, Texas, in the Houston area. There's different people that played important roles in our history of the small town, and the museum in that area is paying me to write and document these people and their history, what they did, how it made Brookshire better, and so forth. And I'm also writing a play based off of a famous song with another, I guess you can say, dreamer. She can imagine movies in her mind, but she doesn't know how to write, as far as like to write a play or to write a script and so forth. And that's why I'm doing that for her. And we will be trying to finish it by April of this year, 2023, and then to try to get the band that wrote the song to approve us to release this book, to release this play to people in Hollywood to make into a movie. And our goal is, if the band permits us, because we're using their original art, the song, that they will also agree to pay the expenses while agreeing to pay a certain percentage of royalty to myself and my client as the writers of the story. So we'll hopefully be along the lines of a book being, a play / movie being produced in 2024, even if it's 2025 before it's in theaters. We're on the back team right now, writing it as a play, and I'm part of that. My client isn't necessarily a professional writer, and that's why she needs me, but I'm the professional that will be putting everything together, editing, and so forth. And I'm going to propose an opportunity for a vocal artist that works for my team to also make it into an audiobook if the client, this lady who's got the original idea, approves it. However, that's a couple of exciting things we have going on right now at Jen's Books and More, beyond hopes of finding more projects we can help with and staying busy with our own writing.
No, that's awesome. That sounds all like good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. It's because if Jen's Books and More profits, the team, and that's you, Emily, and Kurt, and John, and whoever else we're talking about adding soon, like this guy in Florida. But that's going to be all of us that benefit financially based on what's our term of, how we're all compensated. So, and maybe my labor, but it's going to later, as long as it turns out to produce income, it's going to be, benefiting you and the rest of the team, and not just me personally.
Yep. I think we are sort of getting close to our end time. About 5 minutes left here. Do you have any announcements that you'd like to say, or any announcements about there, or any contact information for anybody listening who has questions or would like to follow up with you?
Yes, definitely. So if you are interested in myself, the author Jennifer A. Whitaker, doing any writing, editing, or publishing services for you, please go to our website, Jen's, JENNS, booksandmore.com, and go on the Contact Us page. to contact me, it will go directly to my email, and I will personally be able to respond and or initiate a meeting to go over details of what you're interested in. Also, please be sure to go to that same website, Jenns, JENNS, booksandmore.com, to check out my books, podcasts, and more. That's other stuff I also have to offer. If you're interested in being on our team, we have openings for a virtual assistant, a public relations person to do like press releases and other kinds of writing like that, blogs, so forth. We also have an opening for a social media manager to do all our social media marketing and lead generation. And what was that role that we're hoping the Florida guy can fill, Emily? The IT guy?
I was just kind of hoping with the any of like the, I think it was like any of like the tech side or helping with any of the behind the scenes kind of thing.
So if anybody listening, if any of you think you could do the tech or IT side with the technical stuff with us, we'd also like to hear from you. And whichever position you're interested in, please go to www.calendly, that's CALENDLY.com/Jenns Books and More. So that's calendly.com/JENNS Books and More. And that's how you can get on my schedule. If you're interested in being on Jaws Coffee Chat podcast, please go to Calendly, that's CALENDLY.com/JAWS, JAWS, book, wait, hang on. Okay. If you're interested in being on our podcast as a guest speaker, as opposed to actually having your own show, please go to calendly.com/JAWS, JAWS, Coffee Chat. If you want to have your own show and would like to partner with us in regularly producing that's about your business, your nonprofit, or other public interest topic / entity, then we would like for you to get on our schedule using calendly.com/JENNS Books and More. We're looking for all kinds of people, whether you want to lead other shows for us, or you want to be the star of your own show that's the partnership one, or maybe you just want to occasionally be a guest speaker. That's the one where you just go schedule by getting on calendly.com/JAWS Coffee Chat. But whichever way you want to be involved, we have both Calendlys, and depending upon which way you want to be involved, that's where you need to go to meet with myself and the team, which would include Emily Gomer, that's here on World of Abilities, Compassionate Citizen, the main host of this show. Besides those different information related to our podcast, I'm pretty sure the rest of the news can wait, because the audiobook and the next book to be published online are still in process. However, if anybody listening has a business where you'd like to sell our books and get them at wholesale price, you can check out what might be considered Lightning Publishing, or might be show as Ingram Publishing. But whichever name it's under, that's where they have over 40,000 retailers, libraries, and so forth that they partner with to provide what's over millions of books by original authors like myself, including mine that you can get from that publisher at wholesale
Sure.
prices for your library or bookstore of any sort. You, Emily?
All right. Just kind of quickly here. As I was during this day when Jen came on March 17th, or St. Patrick's Day, 2023. The Happy Neighborhood Project is hosting a event to help celebrate the International Day of Happiness from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific. Tickets are being sold right now they cost $30. That's only through the month of February. The price will go up starting February 1st. So I encourage everybody to get their ticket ASAP if you are planning on attending. What's special about this is that we are trying to break the Guinness Book of World Records of 1,068 that was set in Belgium in 2014. To encourage everybody to come, will be a good event with speakers, vendors, prizes, among other things. So hope to see everybody there. As far as back to the show here, again, special thanks to Zach, Marcus, and Jay, and would encourage everybody to check out all of our social media pages for all of our shows, and subscribe, like, share, comment, direct with them in whatever way. And if you have any are watching us and have any questions, comments, concerns, and so on, you can contact me at 715-303-9835 or at emilygolmer@icloud.com, or you can get a hold of Kurt at 262-372-1754 or at ABILITYNKENOW@gmail.com. And on behalf of or you can connect with Jen through the couple ways she said to contact her. So on behalf of Kurt, Jen, and the rest of the World of Ability Podcast Network, we wish you a safe and productive week, and to stay happy.